Hi, you guys. Thank you for tuning in to my YouTube channel, Miss Nina So Jazzy. Today is Monday, Anything Monday. So, of course, I told you guys last week I'll be talking about why I was in the hospital. But I am really just not feeling it today, but I guess it's because it's Monday. So, bear with me. It's not going to be a quick segment. It's probably going to take a little time, but I'm going to try to run it through as quick as I can. Okay? So, the reason I was in the hospital is because I had placenta previa, not placenta previa, which is where the placenta is in front of the baby before it comes out of if you have your baby vaginally. But placenta previa is where your placenta actually grows through your organs. So, just to run it all in, I'll start you from the beginning. I had my daughter's right here, and she's being funny. So, basically, I didn't think I could get pregnant anymore. I had a cold, went to the hospital, and ended up finding out that I was pregnant. When I went in to the doctors, the emergency room, they actually told me that they knew what I was having and that I was already 4.5 months, like almost 5 months pregnant. So, of course, I went to see my OBGYN, and he just gave me a regular checkup, told me how many weeks I was and what I was having and all that. And I went back for another checkup, I think in 3 weeks, because he hadn't seen me because I didn't know I was pregnant. So he had me come back, I think, in 3 weeks. So when I went back in 3 weeks, they actually had told me that I had placenta previa, which is the one I told you I ended up not having, where you have your baby and it comes out, the placenta comes out first, which is not so bad because a lot of doctors know about it. So it was okay. And it was already like a lot on me because 35 having a baby, they say it's like really risky. So I already had a lot going on. So when I went to see him, he told me that I had placenta previa, and it was okay with me. I was like, that's fine because I don't have my babies vaginally because I don't open up to have a baby vaginally, so I have C-section. So that problem wasn't a big issue with me, and I don't think it's a big issue for the women that have their babies vaginally either, because a lot of doctors, like I said, know about it, so they know how to take care of the situation before it becomes harmful. So let's see. So I was not really worried about it, went to my next appointment 2 weeks later, and I was 5 months and some weeks. And he did an ultrasound. It lasted, I'm going to say, about 45 minutes, almost an hour. And when he came back, he let me know that I had something way worse than placenta previa. Now, with any woman having a baby, you can die. Like, that's just a risk. A high risk is when women have babies with a C-section or when they have them vaginally. One of the risks is you can die. So that's like normal for women, and everybody knows that. But for a lot of women that don't happen to, and it's a lot of women that it do happen to. But this time he was letting me know that I was at more of a high risk because I had placenta previa. And at the time, I did not know what that was. I just know when he came in, his face was not the same, and he had to tell me that I might not actually make it delivering my baby. So I was like, is this like normal, or is this like way worse? And he was like, the percentage is way worse and it's more of a high risk pregnancy. So I took him very seriously, and my mom was there with me at the time, so I made sure I asked a lot of questions, and he just basically let me know that he was not going to be able to deliver my baby. And that really hurt my feelings because he had delivered my 16-year-old son and my 11-year-old son. So I was very comfortable with him being the one to deliver my third child. So, excuse me, when he told me he wouldn't be able to do it because of the high risk and because of how dangerous it was, me having placenta previa, then it really made me nervous because I'm like, okay, now you're saying this is a high risk and I'm nervous and I'm scared, and then you're going to send me to a different doctor that I don't even know, which makes me even more nervous because I felt like he would be more, I felt more comfortable with him because he had delivered my other two and I knew he could do it and I knew he knew what he was doing. So when you have, a bigger issue going on, you still want the person that you feel comfortable with to be dealing with you because you, of course, feel more comfortable with them. So he let me know that it was a lot of things like I, might lose a lot of blood. So I was going to need to be going to a hospital that had a blood bank. And that it's going to be more people, like more surgeons involved because it's a lot that's going to go on and that has to take, that they have to do in order to get the baby out and in order to disconnect my placenta from my organs. So he wanted me to go to Vanderbilt, which is a big hospital in Nashville, Tennessee. They do a lot of things, and one of their specialties is babies and critical, things, and they do have a blood bank. So I went to Vanderbilt, and I had to see the surgeons and doctors there that was going to help me that he had already transferred me to. So when I went to see them, they were very blunt with what was going to be going on with me, which, it was nothing good they had to say. Everything was very bad. At the time, I had not told my children about it because I just wanted to, try to go along with this and have high faith of nothing was going to go on and everything was going to be okay. So I went into the hospital and talked to the surgeons, and when I talked to them, the first lady, she wanted my whole family to be there. So she let me know that this was very serious. It was, not a game, not your normal, not your average, that most likely they'll be delivering a baby and I would not be making it. But it was going to be like high hope, high faith that I would. So me and my family, that's basically, how we kept it. We was like, we're not going to listen to this. I'm going to make it through. Like, we're not worried about it. So when we talked to her, it actually, she talked to us for like maybe 2 or 3 hours because she went very in depth on how the procedure was going to go and how they were going to do it. So they basically told me they was going to take my baby early. And don't forget, y'all, now I already was just 5 months, like almost 5 months pregnant, finding out I was pregnant. And then they tell me they're going to take the baby early. So as soon as I found out I was pregnant, it was almost like, okay, now I'm about to be having my baby. So she let us know how serious it was. So my mom and my dad and my sister, we all went and, we had to do a will and we had to try to figure out where my kids was going to go that I already have, just in case I didn't make it. And, so they would have somewhere to be and somewhere to care for them if I was not here. And we done that and we took care of that. We made sure everything was going to be intact so that if things did not go right with the surgery, that my children would be taken care of. So it was a very serious situation and very scary situation. I was very nervous, very scared because I wanted to be here for my children. I did not want to bring a child in the world and not be here for it. And I did not want to bring a child in the world and not be here for the children that I already have because of it. So it was a very hard time for me, and I had to like push all of this in at one time and so fast, it was very much so a test. So after seeing the doctors at Vanderbilt Hospital, and talking to each and every one of them. I did everything I just told y'all I did, and then they let me know that the date I would be coming in would be in September, which was literally 1 month after I found out I was pregnant, like a month and a couple of weeks. So I got everything together, started making sure that I had enough money saved up to pay for my bills and, my house and all of that, while I was not going to be here because I didn't know how long I was be in the hospital or if I was going to make it out the hospital. So I kept all of that intact and ended up having my procedure in September. And they actually I went in a day early, and they told me about everything. I had to sign all the papers and different things. So when I went in to have my surgery, to skip through a lot, my whole family was there, so I had a lot of support. I actually told my children about it maybe 3 weeks before my surgery. And maybe it might have been a little bit longer than that, but I let them know about it. But I did not let them know the full thing about it. I just kind of gave them a little bit of it so that it wouldn't be too hard on them, or they wouldn't be overthinking it. So moving right along, when I went into the hospital on September the 25th, they told me about my surgery. On September 26th, I had my surgery. And my surgery took, I'm going to say, about 6 hours, maybe longer. And when I woke up, they actually told me that, they had took the baby, but they had not removed my placenta. So the baby was okay. I had the baby at 30. I was like 6 months pregnant when I had the baby, and 6 or 7 months. I'm not for sure, but make a long story short, I had him, but they said I could not see him, so that was really hard for me because I'm in love with my kids, so like I want to be there every step of the way. But I was not able to see my child. Literally, it took 2 days before I was able to see my child, and they actually left my placenta in me, and I thought that was very weird. I never heard of that before, but it was what they had to do. So I was like a case study, I guess, at Vanderbilt Hospital, where they wanted to actually be able to have other surgeons come in because it was a rare case. They hadn't seen it, and they said that most women that have what I had die giving birth, because normally doctors, like my doctor, Dr. Hamburger, in Smyrna, Tennessee, he saw it and he caught it at the beginning. That's why they was able to save me. But if they had not seen that, it was even more risky that I would just die when I had my baby. But since he caught it at the beginning, I am a living testimony right now. And that's why they was able to get prepared for it and call in other surgeons. I had 16 surgeons in the room with me on my first procedure. And like I said, they wasn't even able to do the full procedure. They left the placenta in me because I was bleeding too bad, and they would have lost me. So they just took the baby out, left the placenta in, and I had to stay in the hospital. I had to have my blood taken every single day, and I had to have an IV every day. So that means they redid my IV every week because you can only get it redone. You can only keep it in you for 1 week. So, of course, my veins started getting bad because they was taking my blood every day. Sometimes they couldn't give me blood. It was very terrible, but it was the greatest experience I ever went through. It taught me patience. It made me have more faith, and just anything you could think of, like in that hospital, it's like God had his angels around me, because anybody else being in the hospital, I've never been hospitalized, never been in the hospital for anything. I only been to the hospital for like a cold, like I'm a hard worker. I work every day, work out and healthy. So like never been in the hospital. So for me to go into the hospital to have a baby and actually have to stay for 3 months, it was very challenging for me and my whole family. with me being the rock of my family, it was really hard. So moving on along, when I asked the doctors, what was next with that procedure of them leaving the placenta in me, they let me know, oh, and my son was 4.5 pounds since he was born early. The only thing he needed was a tube for feeding, and he was excellent. He was great. He didn't have any of these problems that I'm having. And he was a miracle. He was a blessing to me. So, anyways, they ended up telling me that they wanted to leave the placenta in me because they wanted it to shrink. Because supposedly when you have a baby, the placenta dies and it shrinks, it shrivels up, and it's no good anymore. Well, they checked my placenta weeks later, and my placenta was still growing and getting bigger and growing through different organs in my body. Like the baby was still in there, but the baby was not in there, so there was no reason for it to still be growing. So in that case, they wanted to leave it in there longer because they just thought that it was going to start to shrink, but it didn't. So when they finally took it, I think they waited 6 weeks later. They was actually able to go in, and it was connected to my kidney tube, it was connected to my bladder, and it was connected to my uterus. So it was going through them. So I had to have my bladder reconstructed, my kidney reconstructed, and my uterus, they had to take it out. So it was a very hard, long surgery because I was actually in that surgery for 8 hours or 9. I can't remember. But it was longer than normal, and when I woke up, my body was sore because not like where they had did the surgery or the incision, but my arms from being in one position for too long, and my legs, just everything felt like I was falling apart, but I made it. So I made it through. I ended up, when I got out of that surgery, I stayed in the hospital maybe I'm gonna say about 2 or 3 weeks, if that, because I was ready to go after that. I felt like I made it. I was fine. I was happy, and I'm ready to get out of here, get to my kids, and get to my house. But none of that happened like that, okay? I had to stay at my mom's house first for a couple of weeks. Then I stayed at my sister's house for a couple of weeks, and then I finally made it home. Thank God. And I love my mother and my sister and my whole entire family for everything that they've done for me. I had family come through for me that they came from everywhere, and it was nothing but God, and I thank them and I love them, and I'm here today. I'm a living testimony. I will never forget none of the time that I went through. I feel like it was all supposed to happen the way it happened. It was not a mistake, none of it. My son's not a mistake. What happened to me wasn't a mistake. What I went through wasn't a mistake. Everything was supposed to happen exactly the way it did. And if I had more time to explain to y'all, I could, but I don't want to take up all your time. And it's late. But I ended up going back for only to take my stents out because I had stents going from my kidney to my bladder. And I had to go back to the hospital to take those out, and they would send me in my catheter and all that. So I'm going to say like the end of January, almost February was when I was actually done with going back and forth to the hospital. So that made it great. And that is my thoughts today on placenta previa. And that's something that was very risky on my life, but I made it through it. And I hope you all enjoyed. I hope I can help someone that maybe is going through it or have went through it. That I'm a living testimony. Thank you all for joining in today. I hope I helped anybody out that may have almost died having a baby or that's going through some things, trying to have a baby and it's hard. Just know that everything's going to be okay. Just have faith. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed.